Hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Happy to be with you also today for another, well, it's not really a meetup, it's a chat with our author. And again, we do have Francesco Strazzullo with us. Francesco.
Hi everybody. Hi, Enrico. Nice to meet you
Welcome.
again.
Yeah, we're doing this again. We had a meetup two weeks ago, and on the previous episodes, we were on Facebook during the live chats, but we decided to move to YouTube, which kind of works a bit better. So I'm Enrico from Avanscoperta, and as said, we are here with Francesco Strazzullo today for the third time for this live event to talk about his work in progress on his book called Decision Making for Software Development Teams. As you might know, let's do a quick recap of the previous episodes as well. Avanscoperta became a book publisher at the end of last year. So we are now releasing our books on LeanPub, the first one being the one by Francesco I just mentioned. So on LeanPub, authors can basically publish books in chunks. So that means you might not get the full book, but each chapter at a time. That means you can also start an interactive conversation with the author, provide feedback, read the book as it gets written, basically, and in some way also have an impact on that. So that's kind of in the lean way, as we like it in Avanscoperta. This is the second book that Francesco is doing. It also builds on the experience he had with his first book on Frameworkless, and some concepts still apply and are there. In this book Francesco is currently writing, we do focus on the importance of decisions in the life of software development teams, which is a topic not everyone is already very aware of, but is definitely very important, as you can, you will see in a second as we talk with Francesco. But also we, as Avanscoperta, have hosted Francesco's workshop a couple of times. By the way, we are doing another one in April. I'll share the details later on. The workshop is also called Decision Making for Software Development Teams. And we've had in the last years a number of interviews and videos that you can find in this very channel on this topic. So it's fair to say that Francesco is the go-to person when it comes to decision making in software development teams. This is not just me and Francesco talking. There's also a possibility for whoever is connected with us, and we thank you for being here today, to type your questions in the YouTube chat so that we can read them out loud later on, and Francesco is more than happy to answer your questions. So that's all my introduction, which I can now throw away. As said, we are here with Francesco to talk about his book. So, Francesco, how are you, first of all?
I'm fine. It's Friday. It's my writing day, so I was quite focused on the book, and I just published the first chapter. That's the point. We announced it in the last interview that I was writing it, but today is ready. So my readers, I think they are reading it right now. And I also started the fourth chapter. I just wrote the first couple of pages, and just writing something to put it down. It's nothing serious for now, but I had a time, so I decided to also starting writing the fourth chapter.
You go crazy. Yeah. That's the big news of today, actually. For those of you who already bought the first two chapters of Francesco's book, that's how LeanPub works, as I was explaining before. You also get all the updates of the writer as the book gets published. Another thing we discovered in the past live events with Francesco is that Friday is, by definition, his writing day. Of course, we decided to do this on Friday, also because it's a more light conversation, and it's a good way to basically finish off the week And so Friday, a lot of things happening. One of them is that today we have the third chapter of the book made available for the public. I'll just remind you briefly where you can find the book. Da-da-da-da. So this is the LeanPub page. The price also, not only the content grows, but also the price. So make sure if you're interested in the topic, this is like a, I don't know if we can call it super early bird or something like that. But if you basically put trust in the topic and you like it and you're interested and you want to see how it develops over time, you are what we would call the early adopter. So you do pay an early bird price. The more the content gets on the book, the more the price is going to increase, of course. But so that's sorry, it's here. That's the page on LeanPub where you'll find the book. It's leanpub.com, and then type for decision making for software development teams, or Avanscoperta, or Francesco Strazzullo. There you go. So how about this third chapter then? Tell us something.
Yeah, it's quite a strange chapter because it's not a theoretical chapter like the previous two chapters from the book, because the first one was an introduction and the second one was a collection of anti-patterns. This time I decided to tell a near real story, okay, like a mockumentary about a decision-making meeting that I help to facilitate for one of our clients in Flowing. And I tell the story of that meeting. Of course, it's not exactly what happened. It's the mix of a couple of real meetings where a team asked for me to help them in decide what is the right front-end framework in both cases. So I wrote it about front-end for the next Greenfield project. I decided to take a couple of these meetings and put it together into a fictional one, but all based on true facts. Okay. The chapter is about a front-end decision, but the exercises that you will read in the chapter are basically independent from front-end. You can use the same exercises to decide a backend language or decide to have a monolithic versus a microservices architecture and so on. This is, I wrote this chapter because I wanted to give some quick tip and tricks for the readers. In the next chapter, then we'll cover the principles behind that kind of meeting. They will discover the reason because I decided to do that exercise and then that exercise and so on. But I wanted to start with something actionable. Okay, you can read the chapter, understand something, and you can start doing something in your team the day after. That was the point. Also, to it's not a complete book. A complete book may come in months. So I wanted to give the early readers something to check on their work and also to ask feedback about it. So I'm quite curious to listen from something that is reading the book about it.
Absolutely, and so please do let us know what you think about anything that's in the book, so that Francesco and us can, of course, adjust as we go in pure lean fashion. So another thing you pointed out that we like in Avanscoperta is the I want to take this home and start doing it the day after. So it's not a lot of theory. Of course, you do need to have some, but to have practical tools to basically start experimenting on your own at your pace with your client, with your colleagues, with whatever it is. And that's something that we try to replicate in all of our workshops, including the one we are doing together in April. coming at the second edition, and this time we have 2 days. So if you are interested in the topic, we are also doing this. So yeah, the practical element is absolutely key. So that's awesome that already for those who bought the book, they already have something practical, to get their hands dirty with. I was reading the chapter, getting ready for this live today, and I have to say, not being a technical person, I can find something useful there. So it also has the broad kind of approach. One thing that was interesting for me was to understand that at the end of the day, we do talk a lot about technical decisions, but sometimes, is it really a technical decision, or there's something bigger behind on a larger scale, like a whole, I don't know, picture thingy? This is very, you will know what I want to ask, so.
Yeah, okay, I will try to answer. The point is that, technical decisions are, first things first, technical decision should be made by technical people. Okay, that's the first thing. And I'm saying that because sometimes I work with companies where decisions were made by C-levels, but not by CTOs, by CEO. And because they listen for something that, I don't know, blockchain was cool, and so they have to put blockchain in the project. Okay, this is not okay. Okay, technical decisions should be made always by technical people, but there is a big but in my sentence. The point is that technical people should understand what is the impact of their decisions. The meaning of impact is that if I choose to choose a language or choose another language, or to choose a microservices or monolithic, they could have an impact also on the business and also on the people around me. Well, what I mean is that if I decide to build something with a new language that I'm not so ready to do that, okay, with something that for me it's quite greenfield, it's quite green, probably I will go slower at the beginning. That decision should be made in accordance with all the other elements in a business. So it's a technical decision, but you should analyze all the aspects that that decision can propagate to. In the chapter, for example, you will see, if you read the chapter, that not only technical people should be at that kind of meeting. You have to be sure to have the right people at the table, because you need some information that are not related to technical problems. The point is that you have to transform non-technical problem in technical boundaries for your application. And that's the challenge, okay? So it's a technical decision, so it should be made by technical people, but some of the data that you need to make the decision are not related to technical problem, but to something else. That's the whole point of the discussion for me.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. And if I remember correctly from the other lives we did, that's going to be part of one of the future chapters, probably actually the next one, which is cool. Of course, technical people must take technical decisions, but, big but, of course, you do need other people involved. And if so, which kind of data and information do these non-technical people need to provide in order for the technical decision to be aligned with the business, the teams, the people, and everything else? Exactly. So it's not easy, right? You already said that it's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge, yeah.
It involves a lot of meetings, etc., but eventually it's the right thing to do.
I will not say that. I will not say that it needs a lot of meetings. It needs the right people and the right amount of information. The point is that it's not just a technical problem. Sometimes they have an impact on also other aspects of the company. From, for example, recruiting, because if you choose a different kind of technologies, you can have an impact on recruiting, you can have an impact on deadlines, you can have an impact or also on the quality that users have on the ends, okay, what they touch, because some decision may have also unexpected consequences. That's the point.
Absolutely. So it's a whole lot of things to take into consideration. But one thing that I really liked about the chapter and how it develops is that eventually there's one point when I said, okay, so all it takes, which is easy to say in a sentence, is that people need to talk to each other. I don't want to spoil the content of it, but at one point it's clear that something is being done by someone in order to satisfy someone else, but without involving someone else's requests.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, what Alberto Brandolini would probably call silos in the DDD and even storming fashion. So you have all these self-existing and not talking to each other, call them departments, teams, what they are, and but eventually it's all down to sharing and talking to each other.
Yeah, because the point is that you have to be sure that you share some common ground. Okay. For example, when you talk about email storming or DDD, you need to have the ubiquitous language. Okay. But ubiquitous language is about the topics, about what the software have to do. But you need to have also an agreement on how the software should work. What I mean is, in order to be sure that you need a microservices architecture, for example, you need to be sure that the software should have the advantages from that. What I mean is that a microservice architecture is usually more complicated than a monolithic architecture. Okay, you have more actors involved in a microservices architecture. Now, the point is that your application really need the advantages that a microservice architecture should bring to your product, because the point is that if you don't need them, you will get only the disadvantages of microservices. And now I talked about microservices. I could talk about languages. I could talk about frameworks. I could talk about anything. The point is that everything that you decide has some kind of drawback. Okay, because the silver bullet does not exist. So if there's something that seems good, there should be something that it's not so good about that decision. Okay. So the point is that you have to be sure that all the good point of that decision should be needed for your business. If not, you are taking only the risks.
Again, totally resonates and so important. So yeah, I was trying to capture what you were saying and make sure all the things that decision are needed by the business. It's overlooked as well sometimes. So in order to, in the last lives, we also touched on other points such as making decisions driven by rage or hype. That's equally wrong. So we are kind of seeing all the anti-patterns in a way. Even this is even though the chapter is not about that, but you do have some something in common with the previous ones.
The point is that that kind of exercises that I show in the chapter should help to mitigate some of the anti-pattern, like the silos, for example.
Absolutely. I would have one last question to ask you. That's something you do mention at one point when you finally managed to get all these teams and people in one same room, and that's what each of these teams mean by quality.
Exactly. So the point is that what is the meaning of quality? In the chapter, I talk about the ubiquitous language, okay, the ubiquitous language of DDD, but I use it from another point of view. Because when you talk about ubiquitous language, you are talking about domain models. Okay, so you are talking about what the software have to do. But you need to have an ubiquitous language also on how the software should be. And this means to have an agreement on what it means to be, or on the word quality. What does it mean to have a good software in your context? Because something could be easy to understand, okay? A software full of tests is good? Yes. A software full of, I don't know, with continuous integration is good? Yeah, okay. But it's not just that. It's way more complicated. One example that I do in the chapter is performances. If you talk with developers and you are talking about comparing options about decision, comparing languages, comparing frameworks, architectures, databases, whatever you want, there is always someone that is talking about performances. The point is that if you try to go outside the bubble of the developers, sometimes the performances are not so important for some use cases. So they are talking about an idea of quality that is not the same quality, the idea of quality that other stakeholders have. So the point is that you should align yourself about the meaning of a good software or the meaning of quality, as an example. And you should write it down and visualize it. In the chapter, I do a couple of exercises to do that. For example, in the chapter, we define quality with 5 words, white characteristic, and then we define the relationship between these 5 characteristics in a graph. Because that chart, it's quality for you. That's the whole point. It's like the ubiquitous language. It's like storming. You need to visualize the flow. In that case, in this scenario, I'm trying to visualize a good software for that team in that particular case, in that particular time. Because the last thing that I say in the chapter is that stuff could change in 6 months. And so you need to ask again to your team and your stakeholders, what do we mean by software quality? Again, ubiquitous language.
Super cool. Thanks, Francesco. I see that Alberto's teachings and ideas are coming back every now and then in our conversations, but it's no surprise that even storming and DDD are game changers. So we're about to close. I launched a question on the YouTube chat to see if there's any questions. If not, that's fine. We almost ran out of time, and I think we kind of gave you an idea of what to expect in this 3rd chapter. I'm just going to quickly show, as I have time, that page of, I should have had this ready, but doesn't matter. Of Francesco's workshop that we are doing, it's almost in 1 month.
Almost.
So yeah, it's in Italian. Next edition probably will be in English. It's on the 15th and 16th of April. And we like SEO, as in search engine optimization. So title is the same, easy to find, same as the book. It's going to be 2 half days, 15th and 16th of April. You have the all that you're going to learn on the website. I'm going to copy the link in the chat so you have it. It's also in the description of this video, so you won't miss it. If that's of interest, see you there. Yeah, anything to add on the workshop? It's the first time we do it 2 half days, isn't it, Francesco?
Yeah, exactly. We did a first edition that was only half a day.
Indeed.
But we decided to do something deeper. We can do some exercises together to, also do something quick and dirty with attendance about decisions. It will be quite fun, in my opinion. I'm quite thrilled to do that.
It's going to be amazing indeed. And as we said at the beginning of the live, one of the main points of Avanscoperta's workshops is the practical bit. So it's not just sitting down and listening to Francesco talk, which is nice, of course. But there's a lot of activities you can do and stuff that you can bring back straight to your office. Even in a digital office like we're doing now, activities you can try out and learn by doing, which is all that it's about. So what's next, Francesco? We're going to talk again. We agreed just before this call, if I'm not wrong, on the 9th
April.
Yes. 9th. So 9th of April, we have another live like this. If you know that someone should basically, this date is a bit messy, let me correct that. Just a second. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah.
If you know that someone should be watching these lives, please forward the links to them. We aim to do this regularly, so that kind of keeps some kind of routine, and also you have a sneak peek on the what's coming next with Francesco's book. Yeah, that is it, I guess. Anything you want to add, Francesco?
Oh, no, I just say have a good weekend to everybody that is listening, because it's Friday, it's the end of the day, so have an happy weekend.
Absolutely. So thanks everyone for watching so far. If you have any comments, you know where to find us. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and what's not. So we'll be happy to read your suggestions, comments, feedback, and for Francesco to have feedback on his book. So thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Francesco, bye-bye.